Welcome to my Mariko Waifu Nisekoi deck pro. Actually, hold up. This doesn't feel right. That's better. So welcome to my Mariko Waifu deck profile. All these cards aren't in English, and I am actually thinking of making a regular Nisekoi deck in Japanese, because let's not kid ourselves, the Japanese Nisekoi cards are a whole lot better than the English cards. So now that that's out of the way, let's get right to it. So the point of this deck is just to salvage as often as possible. Nearly every card gets sent to the waiting room in some way, shape, or form, and the whole point is just to get them out of the waiting room by any means necessary. So first up, we're going to talk about the level zeros, and here's the first level zero we're going to talk about, Swimsuit Marika. And I know what y'all are thinking, why are you only running 2 of these? Well, I do run 3 in my main Nisekoi deck build, but it's not really that good in this deck, because although the search ability is good, you're mostly running it just so you can send things to your waiting room so you could get them back by some other means. The search is great. This card's still actually really good in Nisekoi, and I think it's pretty much a staple. And it is a level 0, so you can just splash it into any deck you want. And also when it attacks, you can choose one key character. It gets 1,000, but whatever. I do run 2 of those. I do run 1 Mischievous Kiss Marika. This card's actually okay. It is when it's by itself, it does go up to 4,000, but you're mostly running it for the pay 1, draw 1, ditch 1 abilities. You can filter your hand out pretty well. Next up, I do run 3 Aggressive Girl Marikas, and on play, you can look at the top card of your deck, and you can either leave it there, or you can send it to the waiting room. That's actually a good way to get things to the waiting room like as quickly as you can. And it's also a salvage. You ditch a climax, you get a card. And like I said, in this deck, you're not really doing a lot of searching, you are doing a lot of salvaging, and this is actually one of the cards that sends things to your waiting room, and it also lets you pick things from your waiting room. So here's another card that salvages. This is actually the level 0 Suicider, and when you on play, you can pay 2, you can salvage a police character, and every card is a police character, except for I think 5 or 6 cards in the deck. And I actually do run these in this deck because I'm trying to make this a pure Marika deck. Only Marikas allowed. But if you're instead of running these, you can switch them out for these, which is arguably the better card because it does move. It is a runner. But no. And to get the Promised Pendants out of the waiting room, I do run 2 of a kind Raku. Global 500. Ditch a card, get a Promised Pendant from your waiting room, because you'll most likely be sending it with either this ability or with this one or that one. Lot of things going sent to the waiting room, and to make things a lot easier, I do run 1 mini Marika. I would have run the other 2, but only Marikas allowed. And it is a pay 1, get a Promised Pendant. And on play, you can't look at the top card of your deck, either leave it or you can send it to the waiting room, just like this one right here. So that is 12 level 0s, actually not a lot, but it works. So your main plays for your level 0 will most likely be these ones, this, and of course the Brainstorm Marika. Now off to the level 1s. Now in Nisekoi, Raku does interact with other girls, and I guess just to keep the spirit of the anime and manga alive, I do run 1 Chitoge card. It's Words of Promise Chitoge. She's a global 500 for all key characters, which is the entire deck. And if you have 2 Promised Pendants in your memory, it does give 500 forward. The next card I run is Marika's Dress Look. I only run 1 because this card's actually pretty bad, because you need to have another Raku on the field, so this could go up to 6,500. And along with that Raku, the only Raku I run in this deck, it will go up to 700, but it is a 2-card combo, so you could get a decent card. And if you're not running a pure Marika build like me, you will be running these, which is arguably a whole lot better, because this gets 6,500, which is the same as this one, if you have a Promise Pendant in your memory. And most likely you'll be getting this with the yellow promise pendant, thus sending your promise pendant to the memory. And this is free, so you're getting a 6,500 beater for free. Not counting back row support, but you know, not in this deck. I do run one promise pendant that is blue, because there are some blue cards here and there. And then I do run 3 of the red promise pendants. And if you don't know what this does, rest 2 characters, get 2 key characters from your waiting room, put them in your hand, and then you ditch a card. And then this gets sent to your memory. So, like I said, everything gets sent to your waiting room, so this is actually a pretty damn good way to get them back. I do run one of these. It's an anti-change Infatuation Marika. It is free, 1,000, but if you're not running it for that, pay 3, you know, anti-change. And she has that little 3 mouth. Up next, we have Head Tilt Marika. She's a level 1 Suicider when you have a Promise Pendant in your memory. And on place, look at the top card of your deck. If it's a key character, put it in your hand and ditch a card. This card, I actually run 3 in my main build, and I would gladly get rid of it. No, I would gladly get rid of this card, actually. Not these. I would put more of these, but she's just so cute in this one. I just can't get rid of it, even though it sucks. It's not that good. Most likely, it would just be you get this in your hand. Just clock it, draw 2. Up next, standard, Marika Zerdio. You probably know what this does. It's a climax combo, on reverse, you salvage. And obviously, I do run 4 of the feelings for the last 10 years. It is a gate when you trigger it, so you'll be, guess what? Salvaging. And then, because it is a Marika deck, and because these are Marika cards, I do run the change. Which, the change isn't, it's pretty good, I guess. You're paying a lot. You're negging yourself a lot so you could get a change. And if you do pull the change off, you do get a really big character at a level 1. So I do run 19 level 1s. Your main combo plays will be long-awaited Reunion Marika and the Climax combo. If you do get one of these Promise Pendants, try to salvage this so you can get the suicide ability. And then, you know, you'll most likely be playing this as well. And you'll be probably clocking this one so you could draw 2. Up next, let's go to the level 2s. And speaking of the change, I do run 2 of these Raku's Fiancé Marika. As soon as you draw this card, clock it as quickly as possible. Use an effect, get rid of it. If you play one of the cards and this is the top card of your deck, ditch it to the waiting room. You want this as in the waiting room as quickly as you want. And you don't want to play this from your hand, because if you play it from your hand, the auto ability is that you have to put a character from your hand to the waiting room, and if you don't, send this to the waiting room. So just go through all that trouble to get this out. And it swings for 2 soul at 10,000 at a level 1 because of the change ability. That's actually pretty damn good. Even as a level 2, if you get that change at a level 2, it's still decent. Up next, I do run 2 of the level 2 Suicide Marikas. She's cute. She looks really cute in this one. And her act ability is you pay 1, it gets 1,000, which it's at 5,000. Well, like 1,000 does like nearly nothing. But when it reverses your opponent, you may send that character to the top of their deck. And that's actually pretty good because you are forcing your opponent to take a damage so they could get more resources. And also, what is this? What is that? Up next, I do run this 2/2 blue vanilla Marika Tachibana. I only run it because it's a Marika card, and I know what you're thinking. Why aren't you running this one? Well, you'll see. I don't need that in my deck. This card's not good because with this one, it is 500 more, and it does get an extra 1,000 if you have 2 or more key characters. This is just a vanilla. This doesn't do much. I mean, it does. Oh boy. Oh boy. Next up, I do run the level assist, and then it's take 1 point of damage, and you can salvage a character. Not much to talk about here. So here's a Climax combo I never run. It's the Promise of a Date Marika and her Climax ad lib. The Climax is Red Stock Soul, 2 soul when you trigger it, which is pretty good. And on play, it gets the 500 times X, where X is the number of key characters you have, so fill up your field and play this. Then when it attacks, you pay 1, choose a character, it gets 5,500. It can choose itself for that ability, which is good. And this is actually before damage calculation, so if you give it to this card, it's not that bad. And whatever character you gave that ability to, if it reverses the character, which most likely will, 5,500 is a lot. Whatever gets reversed gets sent to the top card. No, gets sent to the top of their deck, which, forcing your opponent to take a damage to get more resources. I mostly run it for the Climax. The Climax is actually pretty good. So here's the one Onodera card. Well, I actually run 2. Angel and White Kosaki. This card is pretty much a staple in Nisekoi. You can't run this deck as efficiently without this card. I mean, you can. Probably not as fun, though. So if you don't know what this does, on play, if you only have 5 cards in your deck, mix your waiting room with your deck, shuffle it up, and instead of taking refresh damage, you draw a card. This is great. And also, there's another ability here that actually, I don't know if anybody, runs it. It's rest 2 of your key characters, choose one of your characters, they get plus 2,000. Which is, it's pretty neat. And, art's kind of cute, too. So I do run 11 level 2s. Your main plays will most likely be the Angel and White Kosaki. This one, so you could get stuff out of your waiting room, and this. And, this most likely will be a level 1 play. Off to the level 3s, here we have Non-Stop Attack Marika. She's a 3-2 blue. Wait, this isn't card of the day. Fuck. Let's try that again. Okay, so here's Non-Stop Attack Marika. She is a heal on play, and she has this Climax, which is 1,000 plus a soul, and you get a Climax from your waiting room if you trigger it. Pretty damn good. And when it attacks, it doesn't matter what attack, but when it attacks, you get a draw 2, then ditch 2, which is kind of I don't know. It does filter out your hand, but it's kind of counterintuitive, I think. And until the end of your opponent's next turn, they get, whatever's facing this card gets -1 soul. And it's, this is actually a really good Climax combo. And I believe that early on, and I think early on in the Nisekoi builds, I think they ran this card. They ran a couple of these cards along with the Climax combo, because that Climax combo is actually pretty damn spicy. Then I do run 3 the 1 Marikas, and yes, these are the English ones. No, they're not the Japanese ones. If they were the Japanese ones, probably this deck would have been a whole lot better. And, well, the English ones, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a key character, you deal 1 point of damage to your opponent. In the Japanese, if you have 2 Promise Pendants in your memory, automatic damage. And then when another one of your key characters gets reversed, you choose one of your characters and that character gets 1,000 plus for the turn, which is okay, I guess. It doesn't say you can't target this one for that ability, so you'll most likely be giving it to this one. So just ram stuff into your opponent and just give this, goes up to 12. Again, this card, so much better than the Japanese. Got extremely, I guess, nerfed. Is that the word? Hold on, Alex, is when things get less powerful, is it called nerf?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm using the word right. So yeah, this card did get nerfed in English. The last card that I play is the best card in the game. The entire set, for your sake. Pay 3, deal 5 damage to your opponent. Don't pay 3 to bring this back. Don't pay 3 to bring her back. Don't pay 3 to bring any of them back. Just pay 3, just end it. This is sarcasm. This card's, it's not that good. I've actually never used this card. Huh. So I do run 8 level 3s, counting the climaxes, of course, because that's the main play right here. Your main plays will most likely be this, and not so much this one right over here. And there you have it. That's the Marika waifu deck profile for Nisekoi. Now, is this deck good? Not necessarily, because with Nisekoi, some of the better builds are like pure sweets or tricolor builds where everything just like melts together. And although the consistency of this deck is somewhat there because you are getting a lot of things to your waiting room, but if the thing isn't in your waiting room and you're just relying on just hard draws, you most likely not get the card you want. And if the thing is in your waiting room and you just don't have a way to get it out of the waiting room, that can really mess up your plays. But there are a lot of things that salvage, so that usually shouldn't be a problem. There's actually a lot of ways you could disrupt your plays. Like your main level 1 play is actually the change right here. And if your opponent has an anti-change, you're fucked. This does heal right here, so if your opponent has a heal tax, you know the one. You kind of get screwed out of there. You won't be paying 3 for most of the Encore abilities, because if it gets sent to the waiting room, usually there is a lot easier way to get a card out of the waiting room. And I will upload some gameplay of this deck, link in the description below. And also I have this deck up in WS Decks, a link also below, so if you want to check it out, go ahead and check it out. And as always, I'll see you guys later.